Okay. This wrench here has always been kept in the back of this tractor. I didn't think it'd be big enough, but it's working. It's hilarious. So I was thinking when I was over at the garage getting the grinder, there's a bunch of vehicles parked in front of the garage, otherwise I'd be doing it right there. So I grabbed the grinder, I got an extra disc here, and what else did I get? I got the big hammer, and then I realized there's a hammer in this tractor. I set up all the tractors like that. So before we, that's what I was afraid of. I should have, I don't know what, right after I welded these on last year, I thought if I'd made them like half an inch wider, I could have just slid these back in and out when I need them, as needed. So what I'm gonna do, and then I was thinking, well, what I'll do is I'll cut a little off here. I might do that. This one will probably work. It's almost, this rust wasn't in that corner. It'd probably come right out. Anyway, maybe we'll do that. We'll just shave a little off right there. And usually I have a marker with me. I don't have a marker today. It's like the last 3.5, 4 inches. Just shave a little off. It's not going to change anything. Not going to change the strength or anything. This one here, I don't think that's going to work because, oh, there's a little gap right there. Yeah, we might try that because I really want to use these forks again. So we'll try that first. And then if it's too much trouble, we'll just grind these welds and then I'll either find another piece of angle a little wider. Yeah. I used the plasma cutter to cut these holes. And that was like one of the first times I used it for an actual job other than just playing around with it. And it works beautifully. It's supposed to cut up to 1 inch, but it struggled cutting 5/8 the end of last summer. Yeah, I did a rim. I repaired a rim. This lug nuts got loose and destroyed the rim, so I cut the center out of the rim, cut a new center. It was 5/8, but that's a story for another day. Let's just rip that right off of there. I think what we'll do is how wide is that? Almost, I don't know why these afterthoughts I have are kind of annoying. It's not hard to re-weld one of these back on, so. And this is not going to really affect how this bucket works. I know in the corners it won't pick up material as easily, but you know what? This is not meant to be the main bucket. We're going down to get the other bucket real soon. This is some checker plate that was welded on. This is how big the hole was. It was right from here to here. It was like literally 3-4 inches, and my brother decided he would fix it. He says, actually, his welds aren't too bad. They held, but it's rusted through again since then. Because I used to take used engine oil and pour it in here and take a paintbrush and brush it all around, and I did that 3 or 4 times in winter. Well, I don't think he ever did that once. Look at the holes. So I might take some scrap pieces of metal and patch up the holes, and we'll use it for, like I said, moving cement, or we're going to use it for these forks. I may put anyway, lots of ideas in my head. For now, we'll plug this thing in, and I'm going to rip that right down there. See if we can get that to pass out. All right, look at that. So I managed to cut this. That's a pretty heavy cut. And the disc didn't wear down too much. I still have the other disc here. What the trick with these discs is, if you're cutting sheet metal, that's one thing. But if you're cutting heavy material like this, you got to keep moving it back and forth. I think what happens is, once the metal heats up to a certain temperature, it starts eating your disc right up. It'll just wear it right down to nothing. And in a matter of 1 cut or 2 cuts, well, this thing fits out of there now. I actually turned it over. That's why you can't see the cut. The next time I put it in here, when I mounted these last fall, I guess I wasn't paying attention. I was in a hurry, distracted, and it should have been mounted this way because they weren't lined up, the 2 springs. So we're going to do the same with this one. Even if I have to cut a lot more material off, because that way I don't have to remove those. And then we're gonna get to work. I gotta move some rock, and then we gotta move some compost into an area right over there. That area, we spread a bunch of clay on there last fall, like November, and there's no topsoil, it's just clay. So we gotta top that off with an inch or two of compost, and then plant some grass seed and get a hose over there and get a sprinkler going and get some grass to grow. It's gonna be nice. That's what I'm gonna go get the other bucket this week, but for today, see what happened is that once it started rusting through this edge right here, it starts pushing it right up. There's my fingers. Look at that. So there's no point fixing something like this, to me. Doesn't make sense. Okay, so I'll loosen this up. I hope I can loosen it. Yeah. These are grade 5 bolts, they're very strong bolts, and I got these special nuts. I found them in a metal recycling bin. Whole box full of them, so it would be expensive to buy them. I'm telling you, it'd probably be $10 a bolt. Okay, let's get that off. We're going to do a little cut, same thing as on this one over here. Nice. Okay, I just jammed it ahead a few times, so we got to cut up to there. That's where it starts to hit. So we'll do the same. Cut a little wedge off. I didn't take much off this one. That's all I took off. Don't think it'll affect how it works at all. But I wasn't liking the idea of cutting these off. Although when I put them on here, this whole idea was temporary. But now I'm going to do a little better weld job here, and maybe clean that weld up there and do a little better weld there. This one's better over here. It's a little bit better. And then we'll clean these sharp edges up. Okay. Right up to there. I won't video that because the sparks are flying everywhere. Okay, they're both out. So my redneck forks are able to reattach and use. We're going to dress these up a little bit. That's a razor sharp edge right there. Same with this one. And I plan to make an attachment up here when it's on. When this was on from the operator's seat, you can really see that fork sticking out when you come down below the bucket. So what I want to do is make like a V-shaped piece of heavy plate. It slips on here, maybe 1 or 2 bolts. Hopefully just 1 bolt. Maybe make a little square tube like this kind of thing. Slipped right up, and we got a little V, and we'll use that to pull buckthorn out of here. It's got this invasive species called buckthorn. That's all buckthorn in there. Everything in there. All that little scraggly stuff. And if you don't pull the roots out, it just grows back. You hit the little stumps with the chain. If you cut them with the chainsaw, you hit the stumps with the mower deck and bend blades, and it's fairly hard on the mower deck. And then it punctures tires too, because you got these wooden prongs sticking up. So if I make that, I think that would work really well. I've wanted to do something like that for a long time. So, and I got some heavy plate. I got some 1-inch plate. I think we'll try cutting with the plasma cutter. A nice V, and then weld a little square tube, kind of like this. A little piece of angle maybe, or something welded on. U-channel. Slips right on. Drop 1 bolt in. I like things simple. And then we'll go around and rip buckthorn out, because this little tractor will go just about anywhere, and it's not as heavy as the backhoe. Backhoe's a little too heavy. The tires are narrow, so if the ground's soft, it does sink a little bit, but it weighs maybe, I think it weighs under 4,000 pounds. I could look it up. But the back tires are full of liquid, which they should be. If you buy a tractor and you don't fill your back tires with liquid, you should at least have solid centers there, those weighted wheels. You can buy wheel weights, or you can buy this disc. Instead of putting a flat piece of steel, you get this piece that's like 2-3 inches thick, and you got a counterweight. I've seen people that are cheap that go against the salesman's advice and not put counterweights on the back, not have the liquid in the tires with a loader, and then they almost flip the tractor over the first time they lift something a little bit too heavy. So don't be cheap. It's way better to have the weight in the back. Okay, so that's not what I was thinking, but it's not the video was supposed to not be about stuff like that. But anyway, we get a little sidetracked sometimes. But I'm really happy that these forks will be able to go back in and out. So you see that rust? Look at that. What I should do is brush some of that rust converter or something on here. It's continuing to rust. I think the metal just gets impregnated with I did go through one disc. It took one disc to do almost both cuts, and then I had to use a little bit of a new one. So that's not bad. That's quite a bit of metal to cut through. Spring steel. So we'll go throw this in the scrap metal bin. That's perfect stuff for flat tires. And this wrench, I'll give that. Next time I have the oil can out, we'll squirt a little oil on that. That's handy to have. Saved me a trip back to the garage. And I'll throw these in the shed. And then next time we need them, we got them. Yeah. Let's go pick up some rock. Yeah, that's all this video will be. You'll see more stuff coming up in the future on this channel. So just random stuff. Randomatic Randy. Thanks for watching.